Hi, it's Chris Grimm. Happy New Year. And this is Deep Work Fast. Wow, I can't believe it's January. Today, I want to talk to you about the thief that you may or may not know is stealing time, energy, probably your sanity, and sometimes your money. And I'm not even being dramatic, but we are going to talk about drama. So I want to talk about probably a different kind of drama than you're used to talking about. Most of the time, when people tell me in coaching for their work or for their life, they usually say, "Oh, I hate drama and I hate people who make drama and all of those things." And they're usually talking about obvious, sometimes toxic, ridiculous, big drama, like the kind we would find on The Real Housewives or The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, or in entertainment. So let's make sure we're all talking about the same thing because today I want to talk about not that big, obvious, toxic drama. I want to talk about subtle, uh, constant, and you can think about it as a kind of low grade, uh, not maybe a simmer. I think we should think about it as like the air leaking out of your tire and you don't know about it. So it takes a really long time for the tire to ever get flat, or maybe it never does. Because the kind of drama I'm talking about for most people in their families and work is normal. Ugh, I hate to even say that, but it's completely true. And when I'm coaching people, what happens is that they like to talk about the big, obvious stuff. But then when we talk about this little thing, they don't realize how insidious it is. Like this normalized, subtle, sometimes culturally appropriate drama that looks and feels like, it can look and feel like gossip. It can look and feel like people blaming other people and not taking responsibility, right? So it wouldn't be uncommon for you as a leader or as a parent, right, to want your people, your children, your employees, the other people around you to be accountable, to be responsible. Because the opposite of that, right, is everybody finger pointing and spending time and energy in interactions where the focus of those interactions, because this is really what drama is, by the way, take away the Hollywood part. What drama really is are interactions between people where the actual issue at hand becomes less important than the people self-protecting, right? Protecting their role, protecting their power, making sure other people don't take those things away from them, specifically in business, right? A lot of times, functions can even have drama, right? Not uncommon for the sales organization and the ops organization to finger point at each other when there are problems that are making the business move slow. And like I said earlier, it's a thief, right? Because what's happening is that the longer it takes to resolve issues, and we swirl around with all these maybe related, but oftentimes unnecessary issues that people create instead of spending that same energy to solve the problem, because maybe they don't know how to solve the problem, or they really are out to get the other people, right? There's a whole bunch of ways this plays out. But again, fundamentally, if you take away the Hollywood version of drama and the crazy, toxic kind, and you think about it, what drama really is when two or more people have an issue or a problem to solve, whether that's in their relationship or whether it's related to the bigger system that they're in. And for whatever reason, they can't just resolve the issue together neutrally and without a lot of extra intense emotions or blaming. And oftentimes there's power dynamics at play, and someone in there, right, feels that they don't have the power to maybe be in partnership or have an equal conversation and ask the other party to do something. And so the longer this drags out, And the more it's condoned by your family culture, by your friend culture, by your team's culture, by the organizational's culture, right? For people not to take their own personal accountability and responsibility, if it's okay to blame the other people. And most leaders don't want to admit this, right? This is why this is deep work fast, is because I'm bringing the issues that most people don't want to talk about. And the reason is because in coaching, I sit one on one with leaders all the time talking about these things. And once we take away all the surface issues and get rid of the BS, we find out that underneath it, we have these things that are, again, often called drama, that really are just the inability or unwillingness for people to sit down and solve a problem in a neutralized way. Now, for a drama to work out, there's a famous way of thinking about this in therapy and family systems. It's called the drama triangle. I've referred to it lots of times. The reason it's called a drama triangle is because usually, and you can see it in movies, television, etc., but I know you can see it in your relationships and in your workplace, that there's always someone, usually. So if you draw a triangle and think about the 3 points of the triangle having 3 different roles that people play when a drama is playing out. So instead of resolving the issue, we're going to now swirl around and maybe blame each other or play he said, she said, or whatever we're going to do instead of just solving the problem, right? So the 3 roles are usually there is a victim. And the victim is just the person who believes they're powerless in the situation. Sometimes that's real and people are victimized, like someone's actually taking their power away or doing something to them. Most of the time, what I find when people kind of unpeel this whole thing with me is that part of it might be true, but a lot of it is perception, because we have people in the process, like at the workplace, by the way, a lot of times employees feel powerless because leaders above them are probably in charge of the budget and the making of the decisions. That's why oftentimes they take on a victim mentality, because it feels like everything's being done to them. Your children may also function like that, because it would not be uncommon in most families for the kids not to be the power players. The adults are those people. So in situations where we can't change what the power people are doing, we feel victimized. So in the drama triangle, there's always someone or a group of people who feels like they don't have the power to make the change that they want. Another point in the triangle is when we have people who feel like they're being victimized or are victims of something, well, they're going to blame it on someone or something. And that's why we always have what's called a persecutor or a villain or a bad guy. Call it what you want, the ugly stepmother, whatever. We always have someone that the people who feel like they're victims are pointing to. So in every situation, and that's why I mentioned that sometimes if you just pay attention to the subtlety of what's going on in the culture of your family or in your work, and people are gossiping and they're talking about people instead of talking to people about things, you'll start to hear them talk and you can easily say, oh, I know, they think that person's the bad guy. And the other third role in the drama triangle is the rescuer. It's the hero. It's the thing or the person that saves us from the bad person or thing, right? So in a team environment or in a workplace environment, like I said, let's say we all have some shared goals or our strategic plans out there, and some of the goals can be achieved by a function of the business alone. But some of the goals, they can't. They're cross-functional in nature, like people actually need to collaborate and cooperate with each other so that we can meet those big long-term goals. Happens all the time, right? The salespeople sell the stuff. They think the product and tech people are going to deliver the things. Product and tech doesn't meet the deadlines. The salespeople look bad to the customer, right? So that's either something that we resolve, we talk it through, we fix the problem as quickly as possible together, or we've got a little drama triangle, most likely. Someone feels like they're been wronged, maybe the salespeople, because the customer is calling them, telling them like I did an old school phone. The customer is calling them and saying, hey, you were supposed to deliver this in this time period. Salespeople take the heat, right? They feel like they're now the victim in the situation. They're going to look to find out who's to blame. They're going to find a bad guy. If the people in the product and tech organization or the ops organization can't fix the problem fast enough to make the customer happy, most likely what's going to happen? Maybe a third party's now involved. The boss, right? Now I'm going to go to the boss and I'm going to tell the boss, here's our problem. You better tell them to fix it. That triangle happens all the time. And I hear about it in coaching when leaders, maybe like you, come to me and say, I need my team to collaborate more. I need them to solve problems faster. I need them to get along. Why aren't these two executives working together? It happens every day. Huge waste of time, huge waste of energy. Should be making you crazy because it's crazy making. This is not great behavior for anybody. So I'm going to tell you today how to work on it. And if you haven't already, Heather put the link, thank you, Heather, to our blog. I've given you a whole list of things that you can do to prevent this drama triangle from stealing all this time and energy from you. And if you can get agreements inside your organization or your family, by the way, for people not to fall into the trap of the drama triangle. And it takes a little bit of practice, by the way. It takes agreement that we don't want to be in it. And then it takes people agreeing on what new things we're going to do. Now, it's not actually that hard. The problem is, and earlier I said it, the drama has become really normal for most people. And because we watch it in entertainment, like, script writers and people who write books and movies, etc., well, they're creating entertainment. And this is important to understand. And if you've never talked about it with your family or your employees, you should do that, right? We watch this entertainment, and because most of us have been watching entertainment for a long time, and our kids play games and have music and things, for anything to get our attention, seemingly, it has to be more ridiculous and more dramatic. So we end up entertaining ourselves with things that are just ridiculously dramatic and super toxic, right? The problem is that seeps into oftentimes how we interact with each other. So when I said it's normal, that's what I meant. We've been socialized in whole parts of our life to think it's normal to blame other people instead of taking responsibility. We think some people think it's more interesting and easier to argue, fight, and blame, I'm making the triangle, than to just simply work out the issues with someone efficiently and quickly, right? Some people will even tell me that's really boring. It's also high performance and highly effective, by the way. But yeah, it is more boring. If you like talking about other people and blaming it, yeah. So I would suggest a few things. One, you should be aware of your own tendencies. Do you tend to be the person who automatically gets angry and looks for someone to blame? If so, you might have been socialized to do that in your home, which means as an adult, you probably are doing it at work. You also want to be aware of what is the culture in your organization. And I want to note something because 28 years later, I've been working with a lot of companies. And what I've noticed is that some organizations have highly dysfunctional cultures where toxicity is normal, which means the drama is out in the open and everybody knows it happens and people participate in it because it's a part of the political structure and how they do things. Other companies tend to believe that they're not like that. And I want to bring this to your attention because, again, I want you to have awareness around this first and foremost before you try and change it. You should just be aware of it, is that many organizations have nice cultures. And in nice cultures, what I mean by that is there's not a lot of conflict. And that's a big red flag for me when I'm coaching or consulting and doing an assessment of a leader or an organization, I'm always like, can they have healthy conflict? When I find out that they're having no conflict, that everybody's really nice to each other all the time, what we also often find is passive aggressiveness, and that drama triangle is actually living in the relationships because it's safer and it's condoned. If it's a culture that we don't like conflict, right? It's condoned to actually talk about people instead of giving them direct feedback sooner and resolving issues. That feels too confrontational for some cultures, if in fact the norm is to be too nice. So, again, we can do a whole one of these on culture. Today, I just want you to get aware of, how much do you participate in that subtle drama triangle? Like, what does it look like when you play the roles of victim, bad guy, rescuer? We all do it. Don't be ashamed, right? The second thing is, and I mentioned it, one way to completely shift the drama triangle is to have a team or in your home with an agreement to give each other direct, open, transparent feedback as quickly as possible, one on one, instead of talking to other people about each other. So if you're the boss and you're the leader of a team and you know your people come to you to tattletale on other people, your first line of defense against the drama triangle would be to say to the people, have you given them the feedback? And if the answer is no, send them away. Send them directly to the person and ask them to give the feedback to the other person and try to resolve it with them. Now, many leaders, you might be one of them, will say to me, I try that all the time and it still doesn't work. So there's another thing that you can do for yourself and your team, in which is making it a norm for your team to have a safe space to talk about problems. So instead of just having a team meeting where sometimes people read out, but they only tell you the good stuff or the neutral stuff, but it's not safe to tell you what's going wrong, adopt a structure or a framework, if you will, so that your team has a safe space to talk about the things that are not going right without you getting upset about it. This is really important because some leaders and managers think their meetings are safe and they tell their team to come tell the truth about what's going wrong, but they don't have any training or protocol around that. So people often don't know how to do that without triggering you, right? They come either partially prepared or they're afraid to tell the truth, or they don't know how to talk neutrally about what's happening in the business without pointing a finger and throwing someone else under the bus. And so instead of doing that, they're talking about it outside of the meeting. They're trying to avoid telling you what's going on until they have to. And then, of course, it creates a drama triangle. It creates more problems than you want. It's probably also then delayed things. It's taken up other people's precious time and energy. And now you have a project or a goal that's off track, right? So to get away from that, some organizations and teams, they use a system like red, yellow, green, for instance, where on an ongoing basis, everyone has to talk about progress. And because they use colors or they use criteria, if you will, it tends to make it a little bit more neutral to talk about things that are or are not working. Alongside of that, though, to take care of the people piece so that the drama doesn't happen, you've got to have agreement on your team for people to be meeting one-on-one on a regular basis and giving each other feedback no matter how things are going. It should be normal to talk to each other about what they wish people were doing differently and to bring the business problems without drama to each other with the expectation that if they truly get to an impasse, that then they're going to bring you in. But their goal would be to collaborate and to talk to each other without any drama, without escalation, and just about how to solve the actual problem without having to create this energy, if you will, around drama that tends to kind of be well, it's a waste of time and it can be soul sucking, right? And you don't need that on your team. Now, the reason I'm talking about this is because, oftentimes I'm with people and they say they understand what I just explained, and yet it's going on anyway. So I was going to entitle the blog Your New Year's Resolution, but I don't really believe in New Year's resolutions, so I didn't. But if you are going to have a resolution, how about a no drama resolution? How about let's skip the drama in 2024, and instead you are going to get that blog, get self-aware about your own participation and your tendencies around that. Like, what are you allowing to happen? And do you know what normal, subtle drama triangles are taking the time and energy and maybe your sanity away from you and your team? So grab that blog, get to work on this. Just little tweaks here can make huge differences, I promise. And thank you for joining me. I will see you next week. Okay, skip that drama. Bye.